If you ask me, which of course you didn't, the problem with haters on YouTube and in anywhere else of course is very bad, but what we need to do is we need to be careful to draw a distinction between haters and assholes. See, if you ask me, anybody who leaves a sort of comment that's a criticism, even if it's an incredibly mean-spirited whatever criticism of a person's video, no matter how, I'm not saying that it's appropriate, I'm not saying it's called for, I'm not saying it's polite, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I wouldn't be able to categorize that person myself as a hater. See, if you ask me, a hater would have to refer to a person of a very large group of people who posts, let's say, comments on someone's video, but is not criticizing or complaining or being mean toward the work itself, but is actually being mean toward the person who made the video, and whose only criticisms are not for what the person has created, but for who the person is. And that is a very serious problem, because that's not just a couple of people who decided to be mean one day, so they went around saying, oh, your video is this, your video is that. This is actually people who harbor inside of them some sort of hatred, and hate is a word that we use a lot, but it's actually a very horrible thing, who actually harbor a form of hatred toward a person or a group of people who have literally never done anything to actually offend that person or harm that person, other than pretty much being who they are. If you want an example of what I'm talking about, all you have to do is look at one of this guy's videos. Now, if you just go back through the, if you look at the comments section, just go back a couple pages through the archives of the comments, because on here it's just endless, the hateful comments that you get. If you just read through it, you'll find some absolutely horrible stuff. And this isn't even specific to YouTube. I mean, this also applies to people who do things like they go all over the internet and find, let's say, music forums and complain about Freddie Mercury because he's gay. Or Elton John, for that matter, because he's gay. Or Oscar Wilde. And just on a side note, being the big Queen fan that I am, every time that I read a hateful comment about Freddie Mercury, I feel offended. And I think that everybody should feel offended when they read hateful comments, because this is a very big problem that is not specific to the people who are the subject of such hate. But this brings us to the even greater question. What sorts of people are these out there who are leaving these sorts of comments? Now, I am of the position that I generally say that the reason that these people leave these comments is because they're rednecks, or white trash, or many of the other groups that populate the American South and Midwest and Southwest and West. But I think that might be making excuses for them. Not that being a redneck is ever excused. What sort of person would feel an intense hate towards someone, not even a dislike, an intense feeling of hatred? The key word here being intense, and hatred. What sort of person would feel this sort of thing towards someone else simply because that person is, in a sense, different? The person has never done anything to harm the other person, never even done anything to rationally offend the other person. This hater person is simply displeased by the other person's existence. How horrible is that? And if you can't conceive of how horrible that is, I want you to stop and think a minute, then when you're done thinking, think about it again, and you'll realize it's terrible, absolutely awful. Oh, and another example, in case you need another one. If you have AOL, if you just, every time that you sign on to AOL, they open this up and they have all these stupid, crappy news stories. Well, if you just click on one of the news stories, then you go to the forums, because they have like these message boards about the news stories. If you go to the message board, you could read even more ridiculously hateful comments. It makes me wonder what sort of people we have here in America. Anyway, that's about it for this video response, so good day.